I'm sure you can remember the very first game you ever played, but I wonder if you can remember the first game you ever owned. Well, let me explain what I mean when I say that. I don't mean the first game you ever got as a gift for Christmas or a birthday or a visiting relative, and some people get gifts at Easter or just because you got a good grade on a test at school. I mean the first game you ever owned. The first game you personally ever bought. It's a pretty unique experience, I think, because you have to put up your own money to get this game. This isn't just you asking your parents or whoever to buy a game for you or asking for it on your Christmas list. No. This is one that you have to put your own hard-earned money down on and buy it yourself. I can remember the first one that I ever owned, and somewhere in a box in an attic, it's still there. And that game was Pokemon Blue. I remember at the time all my friends were playing Pokemon. I mean, we all had the cards, but a lot of people were switching over and playing on the Game Boy Color, or Game Boy if you didn't have one. And then I really felt left out. I was playing on a friend's from time to time, but of course, he wanted to play it himself. He didn't want me playing with his lineup of Pokemon all the time. So I decided that I wanted to get the game for myself. But my mom, instead of saying like, okay, well, let's go down to Toys R Us or wherever and pick it out, we'll just buy it now, she said, oh, okay, you want that? Well, you've got an allowance, you can earn it. And I think at the time my allowance was something like $2, maybe $3 a week. But I had to do a certain number of chores. If I missed one, that allowance could be cut in half or I may not get it at all. And that was part of her way of teaching responsibility. Which, looking back on it, very smart way of doing it. But I digress. So, over the next couple of weeks, I was working hard to save up that money because everyone was talking about it. It was definitely a peer pressure thing where it's just, all your friends are into this one huge fad. And it's not just something small. It's something that's so big and is so all-encompassing and so in your face and everywhere you look, you can't help but get sucked into it. So, at the time, I want to say that, Game Boy games at least. Let's see, how much was it? I think they cost around $25, maybe $28 Canadian. And comparing it to prices today, wouldn't that be nice, right? So, it took, let's see, $2 to $3 a week. You can get an idea of how long it took. But eventually I had the money, and I feel bad for the cashier because I came up with this bag full of coins. Because that's what my mom would pay me, like a $1 or $2 coin, maybe a few quarters or nickels, whatever. It was an entire collection of just metal. Dumped it on his counter and just said, I would like a copy of Pokemon Blue, please. And he looked at me and then he looked at my mom. She said, yeah, it's fine. So he went over, pulled it off the shelf, took it out of the plastic case. He's like, you mean this one? I'm like, yeah, that's the one. He's like, okay, comes up to this, so you have this much left. And that's something I wasn't expecting. It was a life lesson in more than one way. Because at first I thought, okay, I give him all the money, I get what I want. And it's like, oh, I had more than I needed. I get a little bit back. Cool, I can use this on something else. And after I'd bought the game and we were leaving the store, my mom stopped me for a second and just went, okay, hold on. Look at what you got there. And I saw what I had. I'm like, I got Pokemon Blue. What are you talking about? I know exactly what I have. I can play this game with all my friends now. And she said, no. What do you have there? I'm like, I have a video game. She's like, yes. But what don't you have anymore? I'm like, all the money? She's like, that's right. Now, you have the game, but the money's gone. How do you feel right now? And I thought about it. And I said, I feel good. I feel happy. This was what I wanted. She said, okay, if you still feel like that, then this was a good purchase. And I realized many years later, thinking back on that the entire exercise wasn't so much her saying no, you're going to earn this yourself. I'm not just going to drop all that money at once so you can have a dumb little game. It was her teaching me the value of a dollar and saying okay, if you want something, you're going to have to earn it, but understand that when you make that transaction, you need to be sure this is something you really want or that you need or has to have value to you or a collection of all those things. If it has those things, it's a worthwhile purchase. If not, you're just throwing your money away on something you really don't care about. When you spend what you earn, make sure it has value to you and is worth your while. And it's a lesson that's stuck with me ever since. And whenever I buy a game, whether it's on Steam or if I'm going into a store, that moment replays like in a split second in my mind. If I look at a game and go like, oh, wow, yeah, a lot of friends are playing this. And then I go, hold on a second. Wait. Okay, yeah, you know what? No, I think I'll sit this one out. Or the flip side of it would be, you know what? Yeah, I think I am going to enjoy this. You know what? It's worth my time. It's worth my money. I will take it. Now, maybe that wasn't the same for you when you bought your first game. But I'd be curious to know what game you did buy. What was the very first one? And was it like at a time when, geez, I'm trying to think of how old I was when I bought that game. I must have been 9? 8 or 9? I think that was about the time Pokemon was out. Around grade 3-ish? Something like that. But I'd be curious to know, how old were you when you bought your first game? And was it a similar scenario where you wanted something that all your friends had and you had to earn it over a period of time and then go in and buy it? Or was this maybe much later? Maybe you were older. Maybe you were a teenager. Or maybe the first time you ever actually bought your own game was in your young adult life. But what was it? And looking back on it, was the game worth it? Did it have value to you? Or was it just a spur-of-the-moment purchase that you bought to be part of the group, part of a fad? Really be curious about that. Or even just if you can remember what the first game you bought was. If you can, I'd be very interested to hear everyone's response and story. Feel free to share it down in the comments below. And if you like the video, by all means, share it, spread it around. Until next time, my name's Rye. Take care of yourselves.